A steady snowfall sprinkles down from grey clouds, shrouding the morning sky from view. The forest of Exile was silent, but for the gentle tapping of the firm snowflakes dotting against the tree trunks and the sound of the footsteps as Adakis, Prince of Callister, Macus, King of Ghent, and Rachel, the rightful Princess of Kennedac, began their trek into the dense woodland. They had set out at sunrise, and a cold winter breeze had made their progress slow. But determined upon their goal, they pressed onward. The dagger hanging loosely from Rachel's belt tapped gently against her hip beneath her cloak as she walked alongside her companions, Macus and Adakis keeping a watchful eye on their female company. Despite their protests, Rachel had insisted on joining them on their journey, well aware of the risks that may lie ahead. In addition to the sword strapped firmly at his side, Adakis toted a satchel full of rations that would well sustain them in their search, and in the grip of his injured arm, Macus still clung tightly to the silver battle-axe, the only remnant of his brave father. It never left his side. The three moved silently through the trees, whose close-knitted branches shrouded the ground below from sunlight. It wasn't far into their journey that the three came across the first sign of life in the forest. These woods were known for sheltering gypsy tribes, and true to the reputation, between the trees ahead, they spotted a young gypsy woman. Her skirt was a deep green color, her shirt white but dotted and stained, her feet bound in boots with sturdy straps, and her long black hair falling in streams and curls over her sleek shoulders. Her eyes were as green as her skirt, which flared and whipped about her lightly with the shifting of her hip as she chiseled away at a tree with the point of a long blade. Her eyes lifted calmly to greet the travelers, and she seemed unbothered by their presence. A simple nod of her head reassured them that there was no hostility between them. Adakis offered a hearty "Good morning," the beautiful young woman, and her lips curled into a smile as she returned the friendly greeting. Close enough to see the work she had been doing, they saw that the girl had a pile of mushrooms in a fold of her skirt, which she had pried from the tree with her blade. But she sheathed the small blade as the travelers approached, and emptied the mushroom pile from the fold of her skirt into a basket, which rested at her feet. Taking up the basket with a graceful sweep of her hand, and sweeping away a layer of snow from the brim, she invited the travelers to follow her back to where her family had set up a camp. She stated that the afternoon was soon approaching, and that the travelers must be hungry. There would be more than enough to share. Adakis and Macus exchanged encouraged nods, while Rachel stood back silently and studied the girl's movements. But they followed, without question, as the gypsy girl led them onward, not far astray from the path they had been currently following. And as Adakis followed close behind, he gazed down at the ground to where the shadows grazed over the white dust of snow, and he smiled to see his shadow pass. The gypsy camp was constructed in a clearing, and the light shone down from the open sky above. Tents of animal pelts, fine silks, scraps of clothing, and tree branches were all centered about a circle of stones, which encompassed a fire, blazing bright even during the daylight hours. A heavy smoke rose from the flames and smelled strongly of something rancid, but its warmth was well welcomed, and the half-frozen travelers rushed to stand before it. As warm as the fire was, so equally was the warmth of the welcome from their gypsies, who emerged from their tents to greet them. Beaming smiles and curious eyes were the expressions cast from the figures pouring out from their shelters. And when all had gathered, the gypsy girl leading them, who introduced herself by calling her Gira, bid the travelers welcome. Gira's welcome was resounded by her fellow gypsies, who crowded closely around with greetings and questions. Overwhelmed but deeply flattered, time passed by quickly as they acquainted themselves with the gypsy tribe and were presented with a generous meal. A cauldron of stew had been raised over the fire, and herbs, meats, and roots were mixed in, until the hearty mixture was filled to the brim, and to each of their surprise, the meal was actually quite good. And after eating and friendly conversation, they found that the sun had started to set, and they had lost a day's travel. But, learning of their intentions, Gira, who knew the forests well, stated that she knew the location of the stairway to Rekos and could lead them there, and she warned them that the Dark Lord's men were fierce, and that Dovain himself was merciless and powerful. But if they were intent on finding their way to the caverns, she agreed to guide them there, and she offered them a place to rest in their camp for the night, promising to lead them by morning to the staircase. With little other option, Adakis, Macus, and Rachel accepted Gira's kind offer and passed the night in their own tents, safe among the gypsies in their group, safe from the wind and safe from the snow, but not safe from the Dark Lord Dovain.